The courtroom trembled with silence as Judge Richard Coleman said, "The verdict stands." The gavel struck like thunder, sending ripples of fear across faces. Emma Harris whispered, "It cannot be true," her voice trembling. The guarded survivor, Michael Stone, clenched his fists, his pulse thundering as if a storm raged in his chest. Laura Bennett leaned closer and said, "Michael Stone, breathe, the truth is not finished." Michael Stone's eyes burned with survivor's guilt, and every breath felt like betrayal of those lost. Across the chamber, Jonathan Reed sat stone-faced, but his calm was deception cloaked in warmth. Detective Claire Morgan's phone vibrated, flashing an unknown number. She stepped into the hallway, shadows stretching with menace, and answered. A distorted voice said, "You are chasing smoke, but fire waits for you." Claire Morgan whispered, "Who are you?" The line ended with static. She returned, her steps heavy, while the velvet blade, Victor Hale, watched from the gallery, his gaze as sharp as broken glass. Somewhere distant, the lingering memory hovered like a melody only Michael Stone could hear. The weight of truth pressed down, and a secret clawed at the surface. The echo of the gavel lingered as Michael Stone stepped outside, rain drenching his coat. Emma Harris followed close, whispering, "Michael Stone, they cannot silence truth." Laura Bennett pulled her umbrella open, saying, "Hope must survive this storm." Jonathan Reed lingered behind them, smiling faintly, his presence a shadow more than a companion. Claire Morgan tightened her grip on her phone, recalling the distorted voice. Victor Hale left the courthouse silently, his stride measured, his gaze lingering on Michael Stone before vanishing into darkness. The memory of the lost girl followed Michael Stone like a ghostly echo, every raindrop whispering her name. The rain turned streets into rivers as Claire Morgan drove slowly, headlights slicing through mist. She said softly, "Danger always arrives quietly." Michael Stone sat beside her, staring at the sealed letter he always carried. Emma Harris in the back seat whispered, "This cannot just end in silence." Laura Bennett held Emma Harris's hand, steadying her with warmth. Jonathan Reed's name appeared on Claire Morgan's caller ID, but she ignored it, lips tightening. The phone buzzed again, the name glowing like a warning. Victor Hale's shadowy presence followed them in another car, headlights dimmed, invisible to their notice. The lingering memory returned in Michael Stone's mind, her laughter echoing faintly. A flash of lightning cracked as the group entered Laura Bennett's home. Michael Stone said, "Every storm carries truth if we dare face it." Emma Harris wiped her wet face and whispered, "I fear truth is darker than lies." Claire Morgan set her phone on the table, its glow casting eerie shadows. Laura Bennett poured coffee, her steady hands hiding unease. Jonathan Reed arrived unexpectedly, smiling warmly and said, "I thought you might need company." Victor Hale remained unseen, but his presence was heavy, like a predator circling. In Michael Stone's mind, the lingering memory tapped her pen softly, echoing from nowhere. As thunder rolled, Claire Morgan played back the call's recording, the distorted voice repeating, "Fire waits for you." Michael Stone whispered, "Secrets do not burn quietly." Emma Harris trembled, saying, "It feels like we are prey." Laura Bennett said calmly, "We must stay united or be broken apart." Jonathan Reed smiled faintly, sipping coffee, his eyes unreadable. Victor Hale's unseen presence tightened around them, invisible yet suffocating. The lingering memory's laughter lingered faintly, haunting Michael Stone as he clenched the sealed letter tighter, knowing the storm outside was only beginning. The night grew heavier as Michael Stone sat by the window, his hand trembling on the sealed letter he never opened. Emma Harris sat across the room, her voice hushed as she said, "Michael Stone, pain does not fade by silence." Laura Bennett placed a steady hand on Emma Harris's shoulder, whispering, "Emma Harris, scars shape us, but they cannot define justice." Jonathan Reed entered, his warm tone masking intent as he said, "Michael Stone, all storms pass, and you must stand." Claire Morgan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, her sharp voice cutting through, "Truth does not wait for anyone." Victor Hale lingered in the shadows of memory, his name heavy, even when unsaid. The lingering memory drifted in Michael Stone's thoughts, her pen tapping faintly as if time had not moved. The storm outside rattled the glass, echoing the storm within. Morning arrived with pale light filtering through blinds, but the storm had left its scars. Michael Stone sat at the table, untouched coffee steaming. Laura Bennett said softly, "Michael Stone, strength is not found in silence but in action." Emma Harris tapped the table nervously, whispering, "Michael Stone, truth is a fire, and it will consume if ignored." Jonathan Reed stirred his cup, smiling as he said, "Michael Stone, sometimes secrets are better left buried." Claire Morgan narrowed her eyes, replying, "Jonathan Reed, secrets are poison, and poison kills slowly." The room carried the weight of unspoken truths, while Victor Hale's absence was louder than presence. The lingering memory returned in Michael Stone's mind, a fleeting laugh, reminding him of what had been stolen. The day darkened as Michael Stone walked through the courthouse steps again, the storm having passed but leaving the air heavy. Emma Harris clutched her bag, whispering, "Michael Stone, this place feels cursed." Laura Bennett said, "Emma Harris, fear will not protect you." Jonathan Reed walked beside them, his tone smooth as he said, "Michael Stone, answers wait within walls of judgment." Claire Morgan scanned the crowd sharply, muttering, "Jonathan Reed, answers often come with danger." Inside, the echo of gavel haunted them still, Judge Richard Coleman's verdict replaying in memory. Victor Hale appeared in the hallway briefly, his glance sharp, and then vanished into shadow. The lingering memory followed Michael Stone in fragments, her voice humming softly in silence. In Laura Bennett's office, papers stacked like fragile towers, tension lingered. Michael Stone said, "Truth feels heavier than lies." Emma Harris replied, "Michael Stone, every lie leads us deeper into dark." Laura Bennett placed files on the desk, saying, "Michael Stone, paper trails never lie." Jonathan Reed leaned on the wall, smile calm, "Laura Bennett, some trails are made to mislead." Claire Morgan spread photographs across the table, her sharp tone cutting, "Michael Stone, this connects everything." The air thickened as Victor Hale's influence seemed stitched through every document, his name like poison ink. Michael Stone heard the lingering memory again, her humming blending with the shuffle of papers, as though guiding him deeper into shadows. Night fell heavy as the group gathered again, silent, suffocating. Michael Stone said, "The deeper we dig, the more dangerous it becomes." Emma Harris whispered, "Michael Stone, danger follows us already." Laura Bennett placed her hand firmly on the table, steadying them, saying, "Michael Stone, resolve is our only weapon." Jonathan Reed sipped his drink, smile unreadable. Laura Bennett, "Unity is fragile, and betrayal is quicker." Claire Morgan leaned forward, eyes sharp, saying, "Jonathan Reed, then we must expect betrayal." Outside, Victor Hale's figure loomed near lamplight, his gaze piercing. Michael Stone heard the lingering memory hum a tune once familiar, and the sound made his breath falter. The storm had passed, but another storm brewed. The courthouse basement smelled of damp stone and fear, as Michael Stone studied files retrieved from storage. Emma Harris whispered, "Michael Stone, these papers are not just evidence, they are warnings." Laura Bennett leaned closer, saying, "Emma Harris, every warning hides a deeper truth." Jonathan Reed smiled faintly as he said, "Michael Stone, old files often bring more questions than answers." Claire Morgan's sharp tone broke the silence. "Jonathan Reed, missing pages means someone is rewriting history." Michael Stone's pulse quickened as he noticed the signatures tied to Victor Hale's empire. The lingering memory drifted in his mind, pen tapping faintly as if urging him to see what was hidden in plain sight. Later that day, the group gathered in a dim cafe, tucked into a corner street. Michael Stone said, "The files prove nothing if the trail ends here." Emma Harris muttered, "Michael Stone, the trail will not end, not if we push further." Laura Bennett stirred her tea, whispering, "Michael Stone, trails are never straight, they are mazes." Jonathan Reed leaned in, his voice smooth, Laura Bennett. Mazes are designed to trap, not to free. Claire Morgan placed photographs on the table, her eyes narrowed. Jonathan Reed. These are not traps. These are maps. The mention of Victor Hale weighed down every word, his influence crawling across the photographs. The lingering memory hummed softly in Michael Stone's thoughts, reminding him that danger was closer than comfort. The night air was sharp as Claire Morgan led the group through deserted streets, their steps echoing off the wet pavement. Michael Stone whispered, "Danger is hunting us." Emma Harris said softly, "Michael Stone, shadows feel alive tonight." Laura Bennett gripped her coat tightly, muttering, "Emma Harris, fear must not rule us." Jonathan Reed gave a faint laugh, saying, "Michael Stone, hunters enjoy when prey panics." Claire Morgan pulled her weapon close, voice firm. Jonathan Reed, "Panic dies when truth sharpens resolve." In the distance, headlights flickered as if following, Victor Hale's silent reach growing. Michael Stone's chest tightened as the lingering memory's laughter faintly echoed, haunting each step. Inside Laura Bennett's study, tension thickened as papers scattered across the floor. Michael Stone said, "Every name here bleeds into corruption." Emma Harris whispered, "Michael Stone, it is like a spider's web." Laura Bennett placed her hands on the desk, speaking firmly. "Emma Harris, webs can be broken with truth." Jonathan Reed leaned lazily in his chair, voice soft. "Laura Bennett, webs hold stronger than you think." Claire Morgan's sharp eyes studied the photographs, her tone cutting. Jonathan Reed, webs break when one thread is pulled. The spider at the center was Victor Hale, his name marking every page. Michael Stone shuddered as the lingering memory whispered wordless psalms, reminding him that truth had already claimed lives. Storm winds rattled the windows as the group gathered again in silence. Michael Stone whispered, "Every truth uncovered brings more danger." Emma Harris replied, "Michael Stone, danger feels endless." Laura Bennett held a cup of tea, steady voice low. Emma Harris, "Even endless roads end in truth." Jonathan Reed smirked faintly, saying, "Michael Stone, some roads end in betrayal, not justice." Claire Morgan leaned forward, fierce tone rising. "Jonathan Reed, betrayal only fuels fire." Outside, Victor Hale stood beneath a street lamp, his shadow long and threatening. Michael Stone closed his eyes as the lingering memory's faint laughter returned, haunting him with every thunderclap outside. The courthouse archives whispered with dust as Michael Stone unrolled brittle documents that revealed a name hidden in plain sight. Emma Harris whispered, "Michael Stone, these signatures match too closely." Laura Bennett leaned in and said, "Emma Harris, this witness was never meant to be found." Jonathan Reed smiled faintly and said, "Michael Stone, hidden names are always hidden for reason." Claire Morgan's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Jonathan Reed, this proves Victor Hale's ties go deeper than law." Michael Stone's hand shook as the lingering memory flickered in his mind, a faint humming guiding his eyes to the forgotten lines on the page. The air tightened, as though truth itself waited to crush them. In a small diner at midnight, silence clung to the cracked vinyl booths. Michael Stone whispered, "Every trail leads back to one man." Emma Harris said softly, "Michael Stone, then we must bring his empire down." Laura Bennett stirred her coffee, calm but firm. Emma Harris, "Empire falls only when truth is louder than power." Jonathan Reed leaned across the table, his smile unsettling. "Michael Stone, truth rarely survives power." Claire Morgan placed a folder down hard, her voice like steel. "Jonathan Reed, survival is not the point, exposure is." Victor Hale's photo lay on the folder, his shadow stretching over them. Michael Stone's pulse raced as the lingering memory's presence brushed through his thoughts, reminding him of what truth had cost. Inside, Laura Bennett's study, storm winds howled against the windows. Michael Stone whispered, "This betrayal cuts from inside." Emma Harris trembled and said, "Michael Stone, who among us carries the knife?" Laura Bennett steadied her tone. "Emma Harris, betrayal always leaves clues." Jonathan Reed's eyes glinted as he spoke smoothly, Michael Stone, suspicion breaks faster than trust. Claire Morgan slammed her hand on the table, her words sharp. Jonathan Reed, someone has already broken us. The document spread across the desk showed Victor Hale's network tied to names they once trusted. Michael Stone closed his eyes, the lingering memory humming faintly, guiding him toward the darkest truth. The old church bell tolled midnight as the group entered the empty nave. Michael Stone whispered, "This place holds silence too heavy." Emma Harris said, "Michael Stone, silence hides truth's echo." Laura Bennett lit a candle, whispering, "Emma Harris, light exposes what shadow fears." Jonathan Reed's voice was smooth as he said, "Michael Stone, shadow belongs to all of us." Claire Morgan's sharp gaze swept the altar, her voice like stone. "Jonathan Reed, this is Victor Hale's sanctuary." Michael Stone's breath quickened as the lingering memory appeared in flickering candlelight, her presence woven into the stillness, guiding him to what had been hidden in faith's veil. The revelation came like thunder as Michael Stone read the final page aloud. "Victor Hale is tied by blood," he whispered. Emma Harris gasped, "Michael Stone, this cannot be possible." Laura Bennett steadied him, her tone firm. "Michael Stone, truth is always cruelest when it cuts family." Jonathan Reed leaned closer, his voice quiet. "Michael Stone, family binds tighter than law." Claire Morgan slammed her fist against the table, saying, "Jonathan Reed, blood does not erase guilt." Michael Stone's hands shook as the lingering memory's laughter echoed, her truth now reframing every loss, every scar, every secret buried. The storm outside was nothing compared to the storm within. The courtroom was suffocating as the trial began anew, evidence stacked like weapons on the table. Michael Stone whispered, "This is the moment that decides everything." Emma Harris clutched his arm and said, "Michael Stone, truth must stand against power." Laura Bennett rose with steady composure, declaring, "Emma Harris, law bends only when courage bends first." Jonathan Reed leaned back, his calm, unnerving whispering, "Michael Stone, courage burns quicker than fear." Claire Morgan presented the files to Judge Richard Coleman, her words precise. "Judge Richard Coleman, this is the proof of Victor Hale's reach." The chamber froze in silence as Michael Stone saw the lingering memory's faint reflection in polished wood, reminding him of every scar truth demanded. Laura Bennett's voice echoed as she cross-examined the witness whose testimony tied directly to Victor Hale. Michael Stone whispered, "Every answer is a step closer to fire." Emma Harris murmured, "Michael Stone, fire cannot consume truth." Jonathan Reed leaned toward the jury, his tone silky. "Laura Bennett, every fire needs fuel, and truth often burns first." Claire Morgan slammed down a photograph, her sharp voice rising. "Jonathan Reed, this is no fire, this is fact." Judge Richard Coleman's gavel cracked against the desk as silence fell heavy. Victor Hale watched from the gallery, his calm mask unbroken. Michael Stone shuddered as the lingering memory hummed in his thoughts, her voice echoing louder with each revelation. The chamber erupted in gasps as Jonathan Reed's role in Victor Hale's scheme unfolded. Michael Stone whispered, "Jonathan Reed was never anchor, only weight dragging us." Emma Harris said, "Michael Stone, betrayal was always closest to us." Laura Bennett's voice cut through, "Jonathan Reed, loyalty traded for power is no loyalty at all." Jonathan Reed smirked faintly, saying, "Laura Bennett, power is loyalty's only master." Claire Morgan's eyes burned as she declared, "Jonathan Reed, betrayal leaves blood, and it stains forever." Judge Richard Coleman called for order, his gavel shaking the air. Michael Stone closed his eyes as the lingering memory's presence pressed against his chest like unhealed wounds. The tension peaked as Michael Stone was called to speak. His voice trembled. "Victor Hale stole more than truth, he stole lives." Emma Harris's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "Michael Stone, you survived for this moment." Laura Bennett nodded firmly, "Michael Stone, strength lives in scars." Jonathan Reed sneered, "Michael Stone, scars only prove weakness remembered." Claire Morgan's sharp voice cut through, Jonathan Reed, scars prove survival, not weakness. Judge Richard Coleman leaned forward, his gavel resting still, waiting. Michael Stone's chest rose and fell heavily as the lingering memory stood within his mind, her laughter carrying both pain and hope. The climax shattered as Victor Hale himself rose from the gallery, his voice calm yet commanding. Michael Stone, truth bends when power demands. Michael Stone's voice broke. Victor Hale, truth bends but it never breaks. Emma Harris cried out. Michael Stone, he cannot silence us. Laura Bennett's firm tone echoed. Victor Hale, justice has waited too long. Jonathan Reed looked away, his smirk fading as silence fell. Claire Morgan raised her voice. Victor Hale, law will bind even you. Judge Richard Coleman's gavel struck hard, silencing the chaos. Michael Stone's hand trembled as the lingering memory's presence filled him, her laughter and sorrow entwined, a reminder of why truth must endure. The courtroom fell silent after the gavel's last strike, the verdict leaving echoes of betrayal and revelation. Michael Stone whispered, the secret is no longer hidden, but it has consumed too much. Emma Harris leaned closer, trembling. Michael Stone, we paid too high a price. Laura Bennett's voice was firm as she replied, Emma Harris, justice does not come without scars. Jonathan Reed lowered his eyes, muttering, Michael Stone, betrayal has no absolution. Claire Morgan's sharp tone cut through. Jonathan Reed, betrayal may not be forgiven, but it can be remembered. Victor Hale was led away in handcuffs, his calm mask never breaking. Michael Stone closed his eyes as the lingering memory hummed softly, reminding him that justice carried as much grief as relief. Outside the courthouse, storm clouds parted, but the air carried the weight of endings. Michael Stone whispered, Victor Hale is gone, but shadows remain. Emma Harris replied, Michael Stone, shadows will follow us forever. Laura Bennett placed a hand on both their shoulders, saying, Emma Harris, strength grows only when wounds heal together. Jonathan Reed stood apart, his face hollow, whispering, Michael Stone, I will never escape what I chose. Claire Morgan said sharply, Jonathan Reed, choices carve scars deeper than any wound. The lingering memory drifted in Michael Stone's mind again, her faint humming echoing with both sorrow and fragile hope. That evening, they gathered once more at Laura Bennett's home, the silence heavy with all they had endured. Michael Stone whispered, the truth is out, but it has left us broken. Emma Harris leaned against him, her voice trembling, Michael Stone, we will never be the same. Laura Bennett spoke firmly, Emma Harris, survival means carrying change, not resisting it. Jonathan Reed sipped his drink slowly, muttering, Michael Stone, betrayal cannot be erased. Claire Morgan leaned forward, fierce, Jonathan Reed, betrayal cannot be erased, but it can be judged. Outside, the storm finally calmed, but inside Michael Stone's heart, the lingering memory whispered again, her laughter softer, almost forgiving. Later, Claire Morgan spread the final evidence across the table, her voice steady. This marks the end of Victor Hale's empire. Michael Stone whispered, the empire fell, but the cost is unbearable. Emma Harris trembled as she said, Michael Stone, justice feels as heavy as guilt. Laura Bennett placed her hand over the files, saying, Emma Harris, truth reshapes us, but it also frees us. Jonathan Reed looked away, muttering, Michael Stone, freedom is just another word for punishment. Claire Morgan's sharp eyes fixed on him. Jonathan Reed, punishment follows only where choices demand. Michael Stone's hands tightened on the sealed letter as the lingering memory hummed, her song rising into a haunting reminder. As night deepened, silence returned. Michael Stone whispered, justice was served, but it has left us scarred. Emma Harris said, Michael Stone, scars mean we endured. Laura Bennett nodded firmly. Emma Harris, scars remind us we survived. Jonathan Reed's quiet voice broke, Michael Stone, scars remind me of what I destroyed. Claire Morgan's fierce tone steadied the air. Jonathan Reed, scars can also remind us of what we must never allow again. Michael Stone closed his eyes as the lingering memory's faint laugh faded into night. her presence both a wound and a gift. The secret was uncovered, but its echoes would never end. The rain had stopped, leaving the city shrouded in damp silence as Michael Stone stood at the courthouse steps, staring at the sky. Emma Harris whispered, "Michael Stone, we survived the storm but not the scars." Laura Bennett placed her hand firmly on his shoulder, saying, "Emma Harris, scars remind us that we endured." Jonathan Reed stood apart, voice low with regret, "Michael Stone, regret will haunt me longer than judgment." Claire Morgan stepped forward, her tone unshaken, "Jonathan Reed, regret is not absolution, only confession without forgiveness." Michael Stone closed his eyes, and in that quiet, the lingering memory drifted through his thoughts, her faint laugh echoing as if she were near again. As daylight broke, the group gathered in a quiet cemetery where truth had left its heaviest weight. Michael Stone whispered, "Every grave tells a story of what was lost." Emma Harris knelt, saying softly, "Michael Stone, this loss shaped us more than survival." Laura Bennett lit a candle, steady voice carrying, "Emma Harris, memory endures where bodies fade." Jonathan Reed stood silently, muttering, "Michael Stone, forgiveness is buried deeper than any grave." Claire Morgan's words were sharp, "Jonathan Reed, forgiveness is not buried, it is chosen and denied." Michael Stone felt the lingering memory's presence, as if she walked among them, her faint song on the breeze reminding them of the cost of truth. That evening, the city lights glowed dimly as Michael Stone walked across a bridge, the sealed letter still unopened. Emma Harris's voice trembled, "Michael Stone, will you ever read it?" Laura Bennett said softly, "Emma Harris, some truths are not meant for opening." Jonathan Reed leaned against the railing muttering, "Michael Stone, unopened truths burn the same as revealed ones." Claire Morgan's gaze pierced him, her words sharp, "Jonathan Reed, only cowards fear words left sealed." Michael Stone's grip tightened as he stared at the dark water below. The lingering memory's faint whisper brushed past him, as if daring him to finally break the silence. The group returned to Laura Bennett's study one last time, the files now sealed and boxed. Michael Stone whispered, "We closed the case, but not the wounds." Emma Harris's quiet voice answered, "Michael Stone, wounds teach what comfort cannot." Laura Bennett spoke steadily, "Emma Harris, truth will always leave us changed." Jonathan Reed exhaled slowly, muttering, "Michael Stone, truth leaves us ruined as much as redeemed." Claire Morgan's sharp reply followed, "Jonathan Reed, ruin is only failure if we let it stand." Michael Stone glanced at the shadows, hearing the lingering memories, faint laughter fade, as if she was finally releasing her hold. The final night settled heavy as Michael Stone stood alone by the window, city lights flickering outside. His voice broke, "Truth uncovered does not heal, it only changes us." Emma Harris's voice echoed faintly from memory, "Michael Stone, we endure." Laura Bennett's words replayed in his mind, "Michael Stone, scars hold strength." Jonathan Reed's regret lingered, "Michael Stone, betrayal lasts longer than forgiveness." Claire Morgan's defiance rang in his chest, "Michael Stone, justice is survival." As Michael Stone opened the sealed letter at last, the lingering memory's laughter turned into silence, leaving a haunting truth that would never fade.